Hi, Linda Bowen here from StampingWithLinda.com, your cardiologist since 1997, helping you create cards from the heart. Today is another creative fold card, and I'm going to show you how to do this swing easel card. It looks like this in the front, and then when you open it up, it swings and attaches right there. So you've kind of got a different angle. We did this at my retreat in August, and I'm not going to show you how to stamp. I'm just going to show you how to cut on this card. So I'm going to bring in my personal trimmer, and I have a piece of Island Indigo. This measures 5 inches by 10 inches, and I'm going to score it at the 5-inch. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and go long ways, and I'm going to go in to the side and line it up at the 1 inch. Then what I need to do is I need to cut, and I'm going to start cutting at the 1 inch mark, and I'm going to cut down to the 2 1/4 inch mark. I'm going to lift my blade up. I'm going to go down to the 2 3/4, and I'm having a hard time seeing it with the light here, so if I've got my head in the way, I apologize. So I'm going to start at 2 3/4, and I'm going to cut down to the 4. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to flip it over, line it up at the inch. I'm going to start cutting at the inch to the 2 1/4. I'm going to lift it up, move it to the 2 3/4 inch mark. Now I know some people put white cardstock in their ruler to see better. I find that to kind of raise my bar up, and I really don't like that, but it is hard to see sometimes. So now I'm going to move over to the 4, or from the 2 3/4 to the 4. Now I forgot to do this on the other side. What we need to do is to move in 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to move my paper over to the 1 1/8 inch mark, and I'm going to do the same cutting. I'm going to start at the 1, go to the 2 1/4, move my blade down to the 2 3/4 inch mark, and cut to 4. Now I'm going to flip that over because I forgot to do that on the other side, and we need to have that. So I cut this at the 1. I'm going to move it over to the 1 1/8, start cutting at the 1, go to the 2 1/4, pick up, move down to the 2 3/4 inch mark, and cut to the 4. Now we need to cut across this way, and we need to go in the 1 inch again. So we're going to go in at 1 inch. This time we are going to cut from 1 inch to the 4 inch. And then we're going to move in 1/8 of an inch and do the same thing, starting at the 1 and cutting to the 4. Now we need to do this cut over here, so when we flip this over, we need to use our score line as our guide. So I'm going to put that at the 1 inch, going to start at the 1 inch, cut to 4, and then I'm going to just pull this down so that I can move that over to the 1/8, line it back up, 1 inch to 4 inch. Now, you may need to make some adjustment cuts, like, you know, if you didn't cut all the way through. So I'm just going to grab my paper snips. I didn't cut quite up to get that little piece out. I'm going to just do a little snip there. Let's see if I need to do a snip down here at the end. So what I have done is just kind of made a little swivel area. So again, you may have to just trim a little bit if you didn't cut exactly down. These we did not cut, so we need to trim those. And there you have your swing easel cut out. But what we need to do now is we need to do some scoring. So we're going to put it back in, and we're going to score here so that it'll be our pivot line. So we need to go to the 1 7/8, and we are going to score. That right? I've got this flipped around here. Let's try it this way. So we're going to score on the outside 1 7/8. So we're just scoring outside of the square that we cut out. Then we're going to move to the 2 1/4, and we're going to score again just on that outside. And then the 2 3/4, and we're going to score all the way through. So now we have our pivot points. So we're going to go mountain, valley, mountain, mountain, valley, mountain. And there you have. You're going to want to burnish these edges back and forth with your bone folder really good, but you've got your swing easel. I also want to show you how I cut the designer series paper that goes on the inside of that. So I'm going to bring in my designer series paper. This measures 4 3/4 by 4 3/4, and we're going to cut around the outside edge, and so we want to line it up at the 3/4 inch mark, and this time we're going to start cutting at 3/4. So I'm going to pull my blade down to the 3/4, and so I'm going to cut from 3/4 to 4 inches, move it in 1/8 of an inch. No, I don't need to do that. I just need to flip this now. I cut from the 3/4 to 4 inches. I don't need the groove on this. So, senior moment there for a second. So, line it up at the 3/4. Going to start cutting at the 3/4 down to the 4. 3/4, start at 3/4 down to the 4. And this should be my last cut, 3/4 to 4, and that should pop out. Nice. And then this just mounts on the inside. I don't bother scoring this. I just glue this onto that front, and then once it's glued on, then I can bend to score the designer series paper. So there you have it. I did use the watercolor paper. You can also use the shimmer paper for the inside. That piece measures 2.5 by 2.5, and then I just used scrap paper, watercolor paper for the trees and the deer. Hope you've enjoyed today's Creative Fold, and you join me again real soon. Bye-bye.